Welcome to Joshua Wessex with me, Josh. This is a brand new YouTube channel taking a look at the world around us and trying to apply some logic, reasoning, and common sense to it. It's a bit of a reactive channel because all day, every day, you look at the TV, look at the news, and you get people in government, media, intelligent experts telling you that the world around us is the way it is because of X and Y. This whole channel, we're going to kind of analyze things ourselves, try and apply some critical thinking, and kind of, try and see the wood through the trees. If that's the sort of thing you like, please be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so that more people can see it if you liked it. At the same time as well, I am going to apologise. This is a one-man band. It's not a professional setup, so if there's any technical issues, I do apologise. And I do have an editor. He's a very good friend of mine, but I don't pay him, so the quality is going to be reflective of how much he gets paid. So if you want him to get paid and this channel to get better, by all means, make sure you like. Otherwise, let's get into it. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking an economic tool and applying it to a few real-world situations and go from there. Now, just be sure this is not an economics channel. I'm not that smart, but this is something I learned in school and it's stuck with me. So I'm hoping that's because it's so basic that if I can get it, most people can. So a lot of you may have heard about this before. It's called a supply and demand graph. So essentially, you've got two lines here. You've got the supply of something against the demand of it. And the idea is when the supply of something goes up, so there's more of it available, well, the demand of it goes down. And then this little point here, the equilibrium point, usually the price, will go alongside it. So just a few quick examples. For the lads out there, oi oi, think about football stadiums. Now, if you've got some Conference League club and they've got loads of spare seats in their stadiums, well, the supply is really quite high because the seats are available. The demand of it is quite low. So the price is usually going to be quite low because there's so much of it available. No one's really competing for it. However, if they suddenly, go into League Two or whatever, you'll find that more people might be interested in going, which means the supply of spare seats goes down, demand goes up, so the club can start charging more tickets per seat. So that's sort of a basic how it works. For any ladies out there, hello. Think about designer handbags. Okay, you don't want the same handbag that every other girl's got, do you? So you want something that's got a low supply and a high demand for it. So chances are your price point's going to be quite high because of that. Or if you're the sort of girl that doesn't care, then you'll get one that's very easily available with a very low demand, and you probably get it quite cheap because no one else wants it and there's loads of them. So those are two sort of examples to kind of get on board. If that didn't make any sense, then feel free to pause this video, go Google it and go learn about it, but I'm hoping that was good enough. So we're going to apply this now to a couple of examples and kind of see what it looks like. So the first we want to apply this to is going to be the jobs market. So if we can imagine jobs, labour market, the supply being the amount of jobs that are actually available out there. The demand being the actual jobs that are available. So if we just do that quickly. So as you can see here, if we look at the job market, if there's a higher supply of jobs than there actually are available, what you're going to find is that the businesses are now competing against each other to try and get employees because they need the employees to grow, make more profit, and that's the idea of a business. So what they're going to do is they're going to offer you higher salaries. So they're going to try and poach you from other companies, saying, "Hey, come do your exact same job, but for me instead, and I'll treat you better." All right. They might even offer better working conditions because everyone wants something nice to work at. They might say, "Great, if you come work for me, I'm going to pay you more. I'm going to give you free coffee. You can have your birthday off as a holiday without taking up your allowance." And you can bring your dog to work. So, hey, come over and work for us. So you might do that. However, let's reverse it for a moment. So let's say the demand for jobs is much higher than the actual supply of them. Well, what happens then? Well, as you can imagine, it's the exact same inverse. So as you can see there, because you're now competing against other people to try and get a job, one person might say, "Hi, I will take this job for £40,000. And the other person says, "Well, I'll take it for 35,000. Why take it for less when you can get more? Well, simple. Having £35,000 a year is much better than having £0 a year. So they're going to reduce their value because they want to get that job. At the same point as well, you're going to look at worse working conditions because if employers are literally picking and choosing who they want to have in their company. Some people might not care that the chairs are all rusted and broken because they just want to work. So that's sort of what we're looking at when we look at the jobs market. So depending on the supply of jobs against the demand of them, that's all based on the amount of people, each way. Because if you haven't got that many people looking for jobs, then yeah, the demand for jobs is much lower. So that's one example. Let's talk about another example. Housing. So, believe it or not, we all need somewhere to live. That kind of helps. We're looking at rental and owned properties as well. So if we think about like this, supply is going to be the actual number of properties there are. So rented, bungalows, houses, terrace, you name it, just somewhere for someone to live. Demand being the amount of actual properties there are. So if we're looking at this and we think, okay, there's more properties than there are people looking for properties, you've got a higher supply than you do demand. What's that going to look like? Well, I'm glad you asked. So in this case, we're looking at lower rental and purchase price. So if you're looking to rent a property and there's loads out there, the landlords want you in their property because they're paying the taxes, they're paying any bills associated to it, or they might have a mortgage as well. So they're, rather than them saying, I want to charge you £1,000 a month, they might look around and go, okay, I'll charge you 900 because I just need you in my property. So, and then again, if you're selling a property, you want to sell it because, I don't know, someone died and you need to sell it as part of probate, you just want to move out of your area or you want to move into something bigger, you're going to start reducing your prices because otherwise your property is going to stay in the market because there's cheaper ones available. So that's what happens when you've got more properties than you do people looking for them. And terms and conditions as well. So if you're renting a property and you've got leaks going, you've got dodgy door locks or just cupboards hanging off, people are going to go, well, okay, there's another flat down the road. It's the same price per month, but it's actually in a nice condition. I'm just going to choose that one. And then the landlord's like, oh, whoops, so I better go make it nice. And then the same for selling a property. People don't really want a project when they move in, so you want to make sure yours is nice so that people do actually want to buy it and move in almost immediately. Now, obviously, there's the inverse to this. So what happens if there's more people looking for properties than there actually are properties? Well, you're going to get higher rental and actual higher purchase prices because people are now competing against each other to get somewhere to live. So, I mean, if you just think about London, for example, rental there is absolutely sky high because people want to be living in that area. So one person might say, okay, I'll pay you £1,000 a month. Next person says, I'll pay you £1,100 a month. Who's the landlord going to pick? He's going to pick the guy who's paying more, obviously. And if you've got like 20 people all competing for one property, that it might just keep going up and up and up. Who knows? So that's it. And also with buying a property as well, if you're competing against 20 other people, you want somewhere to buy, somewhere to live, you need to move for any particular reason, you might get desperate and just start putting in these higher offers, which happens all the time. So, yeah. And again, in the conditions, yeah. So, I mean, when I was at university, a lot of people might have this story. We had to kind of find our properties like in the first 2 months of the term for next year because there were so many people looking for them. You had to snap them up. And then in terms of conditions, well, the landlords, they're all rubbish because students live there for a year. They don't care about keeping them nice and people are going to get them anyway because there was a much higher demand than supply. So those are sort of two very big examples now. But our third one is a point of contention. So please don't threaten me. But it's going to be our lovely NHS. So when we're looking about the NHS healthcare, so we're actually looking on this graph at the demand is going to be the amount of people needing to access the healthcare system, supply being the amount of appointments, doctors, operations, just everything that, provided by a healthcare service. And this equilibrium point, I want to call that like the availability or like sales level agreement. So like how soon or and how good quality of care is. So if we're looking at a situation where we've got higher supply, now when I say higher supply, this is going to mean we've got doctors twiddling their thumbs in surgeries because there's no one there to treat. We've got operation theatres just empty because there's no one, there getting, then the legs chopped off. So what will happen then is if you get ill, you call the GP, somebody will actually answer the phone, and they will have a chat with you, and then they'll book you in that day. And then if you need a consultation or you need medication, they'll get that to you quite quickly because it's available. Then also, in terms of the quality of the care, you're going to get better care, because if you've got these doctors who who aren't swamped with patients, they can spend more time with you, spend more time looking over you, and overall just making sure that you're getting the best care that you can. Obviously, that's very debatable if your healthcare service actually wants you to get better, but that's a different channel and different video. So I'm not talking about that here. I'm assuming they want you to get healthy. So that's that. Now, in SMA, you've got a higher demand than you do supply. If you live in Britain for the last 20 years, then you probably know all about this. You'll be looking at higher waiting times. So at the moment, if you get ill, you call the GP as soon as they open, you're in a queue of like 20 other people. If you do get through to receptionist, they'll say, okay, maybe you can come and see if there's an appointment, or they'll book you like a month later on. Once you do get into the system, okay, we're going to refer you to a consultant. When's that? That's 10 months from now. Okay, so that stage 4 cancer I've got, that's really going to wait then, isn't it? Okay, that's good. Right, lovely. And then that kind of goes hand in hand with the quality aspect, because if it's so busy, if you're waiting so long to get appointments, to get operations, to go to consultants, overall just the quality of that is just much lower. You may find that the medication you need, there's only so much supply of it, and you don't actually get, everything that you actually need. So that's sort of looking at the sort of supply and demand of a few aspects of our life. Okay, I hope that made sense, but there's sort of one big theme here that I did through job market, housing market, healthcare. The supply and demand, a big factor of that is the amount of people using that service or looking to buy that thing or get that job. That doesn't really get talked about so much. We say, oh yeah, it's because of X and Y. You can't get the healthcare you want. Our house prices are so high. It's because of our interest rates. That's what's done it. That would make sense, and I would agree with that, if not for this chart here. So, what this chart here? This is estimates of net migration and immigration to the UK. Now, this is just from 1991, so almost as long as I've been alive. So that's nice. But if you just have a look here, this is just showing you net migration. Is the amount of people coming in minus the people that leave. That's your net figure. Okay, so this does include people coming and people going. So a lot of people have said about migration, oh, when the economy is growing, we need more people in. And I can sort of agree with that. Businesses are growing, they need more people to do things. That makes sense. They never say when we're in a recession, we should be expecting to see more people leave, should we? No. And top of my head, I don't know exactly all the peaks and troughs of GDP that we've had in the last 30 odd years, but I am very, very confident back in 2007, 2008, there was a massive drop in GDP, wasn't there? Followed by quite a few years of austerity. So you would expect to see net migration go minus in those years, wouldn't you? Based on that logic? No. So as you can see here, ever since 1991, basically every year apart from Christmas 1992, we've seen hundreds of thousands of people coming into the UK net. That obviously means there's more coming in because people are leaving. We do know that. But as you can see, it's just coming in. Now, normally this wouldn't be a bother. But when you get this, COVID, not a lot of movement. Then you get the Boris wave, 906,000 right there. So let's pretend for a moment that what all the pundits say, all these migrants coming in, including the boat people, are all doctors and engineers. Right? Let's imagine that. Well, if we're getting that many doctors in per year, that doesn't actually mean that they're going to go straight to working in the NHS, does it? Because if you've got 906,000 extra doctors, there's not suddenly an extra 906,000 GP surgery rooms that they can go in or operation theatres that are vacant, is there? No. So that's for the fairies. But the reason I'm showing you this graph, it's not to be a sort of bigoted point of view or racist, nothing like that. But when I was going through this lovely little Word document here, I didn't mention about where these people were coming from, what culture they were, the colour of their skin, their sex, sexuality, anything like that, genders. This would still apply if we had, let's say, an England next door to us and suddenly everyone from England came in. That wouldn't work. It's not a cultural thing. It's not a racist thing. It's an infrastructure thing. We just have not got the facilities. We haven't got the jobs would take a long time to formulate because businesses would need to grow. They'd need the investment to then recruit people. So that would be a very slow start. You'd have a lot of unemployed people immediately. They could always work for delivery though. Housing, well, we've seen that for the last. There's no research yet, but basically, if you can build a house in like a few months, it's a crap house. All right, let's be honest. So, and I've seen that. Go on YouTube, search new build development homes, and you'll see all the videos of all the crap new builds there are, and they're all tiny. So, yeah, and then half the country will just turn into a suburb. So that's not nice. And then, as I said, like with the NHS, you're getting all these people in. Let's be honest. Hardly any of them are actually working for the NHS. I've seen some celebrities saying, "Oh, our NHS is based off people coming. Like our NHS is dependent on migration." It's not. We've actually had people calling LBC saying, "Yeah, I've got a fake care home. I've been importing people as care workers, and then immediately they just go do something else." So, and then also on top of that, if we didn't have this much migration anyway, we wouldn't need more people in the NHS. So, but otherwise, that's it from me today. It's my first video, so I hope you liked it. But essentially, this was not meant to be sort of one side or the other. I love migrants. My mum's a migrant, and she's Scottish. So, my wife's a migrant, and my dog is Pomeranian. So technically, he's Polish. There we are. But if we look at this purely from an analytical and numbers point of view, it just doesn't add up. So no one ever likes talking about it's the number of people coming in. They like to say, oh, it's because they're from different countries and cultures. Well, obviously they're from different countries, otherwise they wouldn't be migrants. Because they're from different cultures, because they've got different coloured skin, that it's somehow racist to even bring it up. But let's be honest, if we can't address the number one factor in most of the problems of our lives, a lot of people saying their wages aren't going up, house prices have exploded. Honestly, you look at anybody now, especially the boomers, and you say, if you had to buy your house now, could you afford it? No, they couldn't. And then NHS, well, we know that NHS is rubbish, let's be honest. Like, anyone who thinks the NHS is fantastic, go hit your pots and pans outside, all right? Moron. But otherwise, yeah, I hope you got something from this video, but by all means, please like, subscribe for more, and leave me a comment, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye-bye.